Hello, everybody. It is another conversation. No, Justin is not sitting next to me. It is Max.
Yes.
We are here
I'm Justin with a very, very good tan.
We are here with Mr. Chris Candy. Chris, how you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
I'm doing great. My first question for you, and it might be a very obvious answer, and it might not be, but what made you want to go into acting and comedy?
Oh,
We'll start it off light.
Yeah. Well, that was a good podcast, everybody. I'll talk to you guys later. That's a great question. It's funny. I grew up always like performing, but I went through this phase when I was like a kid where I didn't want to follow in my father's footsteps. He's a really legendary comic named John Candy. I'm sure people know him. I really didn't want to follow in his footsteps early on because I was young and I was like trying to figure out who I was. And it just seemed like such an overwhelming path to do. And I think everyone can relate to that in the sense of like, I don't want to do what my family does. It's like, I want to do what my parents do. But I found myself over the course of that, time as I was younger, right? I would be doing plays and I would be on improv teams and I would be, performing in shorts and I just always liked doing it, and then I was always into music. I got really into like punk rock music and ska music and all kinds of stuff. And so that was my journey. But even then when I'd be on the mic, I'd be, cracking jokes. And so it wasn't until I got into college and I was like no longer going to be into touring that I was like, I should give this a shot. And it was comedy that initially, got me going. And from that point on, I met with some people. I was doing sound actually for Clark Duke and Michael Cera on their show, Clark and Michael. And I went to college with Clark. And they called me up one day to do a scene on the show, and I got to work with those two guys, and they're both really, really funny guys, and I felt like I could keep up with them. So in the beginning, I was when that had started, I was like, okay, I think I could do this, and I was so fucking green. I was so green. I had so much learning to do because I thought that I was just gonna I had my only ceiling was like college plays, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna book every commercial. And I went, I think, like 6 years without booking a commercial. So but that was really where it started. I think early on it was like a long journey of like dipping my toe in the water, but then really when I look back on it, I had been doing it the whole time.
What's crazy is I can relate to that because I'm not on the same scale, but when I used to work for the company that my dad was really high up at. Everything I did there got compared to him, because he's known throughout the whole company. And so no matter what I did, I had that shadow hanging over me. And it's like, I don't want to be like here. Everybody trying to relate what I'm doing to what he did or what he's doing.
Right. Yeah. What kind of work is it?
It was in Napa Auto Parts. He was like really high up and
Oh, cool.
I was working as a driver, but everybody had something to say that kind of,
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because like you want to, you really want to be your own person, and then it gets creepy as you get older, and we all, they look like their parents, we look like our parents, just slowly, and you're like, oh my God. It's an interesting journey, but yeah, that was I can relate to that wholeheartedly.
If I have to say, excellent mustache. I'm really digging that. It's very well done.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations on that. Like, you did a great job growing that.
I say on the podcast, there's only like 10 people that can pull off a mustache, and I got to say you're definitely one of those 10.
You made the list. Congratulations.
Yeah. If I grew a mustache, just a mustache, I'd look like a guy driving a big van.
Yeah,
that you want to keep your kids away from.
So bad. 7 mustache, but no, you pulled off. I'm digging your mustache for sure.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, mustache. It's I was working with a coworker. I used to work for Stussy, the clothing company, and my friend I worked with, my friend Brittany, she said, you'd look really good with a mustache, and I was like, okay, and so I tried it, and then up until then I had tried, and I would have like girlfriends tell me like you look so stupid with that thing. And then I just needed to get to the right age, and I had worked with some good mustaches, and I knew how to do it. And so when I reinvested my life into a mustache life, I had the right direction.
Well, yeah, you're pulling it off.
That's me with the mustache. It's not.
Oh, anyone could do it. You could do it too, man.
Good luck.
So yeah, I'm scrolling through your IMDb, and this short just jumped out at me, mostly because of the name, and I really want to see it now. So hopefully you can tell me where I can find it. Chowchilla.
Yeah.
It sounds very interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Just like what because you're a co-writer on that one, and you're also in it.
Right.
With that.
So Chowchilla is is a short film I wrote with my writing partner Garen Gardner, and Garen and I have been making a ton of stuff together for years. We met in an acting class and out in Los Angeles, and she ended up being my neighbor here in LA, and I had no idea. We had the same commercial agent. We had all these things in common, and we had met randomly in an acting class, and we had always wanted to work on something together. We'd done this show prior to that called Where's This Party, which was this like improv based show that takes place in a car. And we were doing that. And we were wearing wigs, basically. We looked like crazy in Where's This Party. So we wanted to do something that was like kick it up a notch, not wear wigs, have a realistic, a good story. And her husband's family has this farm up in Central California, and it's next to a town named Chowchilla. Chowchilla is this town. It's above Visalia, just north, and it's a bit south of and east of San Francisco. So we started writing this project towards a farm, and what could it be? And the story ended up being like this brother and sister have to sell their family farm. And on the eve of the open house, as they're getting the place ready, a drug drop, a bag of money shows up from a drug drop gone wrong, and they find the money. And it's basically like what happens when two people who need a lot of money all of a sudden are gifted it, and what they do with it. And it's a really fun film. And you can find that on my website, or it's on Vimeo, and it's a great short. And I was also working with in the improv world this guy Rick Darge, who's a good friend of mine as well too, and he's an incredibly talented director, and he had this like amazing camera, and I knew his skill set of like making film was really strong. And it was kind of, in my mind, like a science experiment. I was like, all right, I'm going to see if Garen will work well with Rick. And it was awesome. It turned out perfectly. And we're all really close friends now, and extended the creative crew that I have out here in Los Angeles. But Chowchilla is fun. It's a beautifully shot film. My sister, she has a part in it, which is really nice. It turned out great. I was really happy with it.
Are you and your sister pretty close?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, definitely.
I know. I saw the name. I was hoping it was some sort of animal, because I was like, I want one. I don't know what it is, but I want it. And now it's a town, so they need to have a music festival or something like that. Chowchilla needs to blow up.
Yeah. Let's get Chowchilla on the map. Well, it already is, actually. But yeah, the film, when you watch it, kind of unintentionally ends up having this. It feels like it could be an episode of Fargo almost. It's a dark comedy, so I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Please do.
Short films have always been super hard to find until recently. Amazon and Netflix have actually been buying up a bunch of them, so I've been getting into short films, and there's a lot of short films that you've worked on. Do you enjoy the short film format?
Yeah, short form and short film is great. I think if you see a short film, it is a really good gauge on someone's ability and a sight into their creativity, because you have to get a lot of information into a very short period of time. And it's delicate, especially in the era where we're like in with Instagram, Twitter, short films. It just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And now we've all kind of settled on 1 minute, right? If we can all digest that. But I love going into a theater and watching a bunch of shorts, because it's, it really shows, you have to have a solid arc. You kind of have to have an A and a B story. And if it goes too long, people feel it. So it's all of these elements coming together to make this really nice thing. And with that being said, up until recently, you're right, short films weren't being bought. So they either were like a sign of a proof of concept, or they were just made for the love of them. It was like Chowchilla, people were kind of talking to us about expanding it. And it was kind of like the bold move at the time, to just say, maybe it's just a short film. And that's rad. Like, that's super cool. Like, just let's let it exist in the world of film as a short. That's it, as opposed to like, oh yeah, well, maybe it exists we tried it, and it just feels like you're taking an idea and stretching it too thin almost.
To go back real quick to what you said earlier, I could tell we're in the same generation because you referenced ska music.
Oh yeah.
But that's super awesome. I was just on a rant on the last podcast we had about it's okay to make something and have it end, and it exists as the thing that you made, and if people love it, great, and if they want to like wonder about what happened after and yada yada, they can do that. But like, if you didn't have a plan for after or before, then you don't need to scramble to get a plan and patch everything together and make your thing worse. So no, I much respect to you for you guys are like, what, it exists as this, and that's all we need to do. Like, I just appreciate the shit out of that. Like, that is really what I feel like people just do too much. Is like they're like, oh, I can make more money. Well then, let's do this thing, instead of just making a good piece of art and letting it be itself.
I'm just really impressed. We recently interviewed a short film director who made We Die Alone, and I was just really impressed with what people who make short films can fit into 22 minutes. Like you said, I watched that 22-minute movie, and I'm like, this is almost like this could be part of an anthology TV show, but it's so much, it's more than what an anthology episode of television would be. It's so much is fit into 22 minutes. It is so impressive because it's really hard to introduce characters, have a full arc, and then end the story relatively well. And I respect short film.
Yeah, it was a world that I knew very little about. I think if I would be on like a flight to Canada, I would see a couple short films that were like on the in-flight visual system or whatever. But when you make them, you get into the film festival world, which is wild too. But it is really cool when you get on like a rad block and you get to see all these filmmakers doing something. And it reminds me of being in a band and playing, and you kind of jam out and meet other bands, other filmmakers, what their style is, what they're doing. And there's just, it's rad when you can have that mutual respect from like a creative level, because it's an art form at the end of the day. And at that point, it feels very much like an art form. And as you climb further up the ladder, it's harder to hold on to that memory, and the best people are able to do that and hold on to that creativity. But it like we're talking about, it can get like sucked away, and then the final project could be pretty thin. So
let's backtrack a little bit. Where is this party about?
So,
and again, where can we find it?
So Where's This Party is on a website actually called where'sthisparty.com. You can also get all my stuff on it's christophercandy.com. Is I have kind of like a main hub where you can kind of get everything that I've kind of worked on. Again, it was my friend Garen, who I worked with. We were in this acting class and we just gelled as friends, and it was like, let's do something. And it was just like, that was the question. Let's just do something. And I obsess over very weird details, elements, tones, and growing up in LA and it kind of being exposed to like, a glitzier side of LA from time to time, I would see like the bizarreness to what Beverly Hills is. Like there is this bizarreness to it where it's like on the outside looking in, it's like, oh, it's the fanciest neighborhood in the world, right? But there's all of these like, what's the right way to put this? These like weird lowlifes who kind of also like all hang out at like hotel bars there, and they've got the fake tan, and maybe they like, know the producer of, Under Siege, or, they're like, it's like very rooted in the 80s and the 90s. And I was like, what if we did a show with like these two Hollywood low-life producer director types? They're a couple, and the show is they're going and they're meeting someone at one weird Hollywood event, and they're driving them to another Hollywood event. So they pick up a wardrobe wardrobe stylist at a SAG-AFTRA event, and they're giving that person a ride home, or they're heading to an after party at Mickey Rourke's house or something like that. And what would it and then what if these two were trying to get something out of the person in the back seat? So we had it where these two were Richard and Lou were the couple, and Richard had written a movie called Red Rover, and Red Rover was about a dog that witnesses a murder, and they're trying to get whomever it is to invest, be a part of it, get them in touch with Tom Hanks, get them whoever it is to get them access. And so I went and donned, I went to a tanning salon and got a full tan, like a full, like, I think that I said, I went to this tanning salon called Ibiza Tan in Los Angeles. It's not there anymore. And I said, I'm doing a comedy and I need the ugliest looking tan I can get, like the craziest one. And they said, you must mean the Mediterranean look. And I was like, okay. So
we know the one.
Yeah. They spray tanned me, and I was like, it looked insane. And then on top of it, I had like a Caesar wig, that like a George Clooney kind of Caesar wig. And then my partner, my wife in the show, Garen, she was Lou, and she kind of looked like a Kardashian, like a Kris Kardashian kind of look. And the guy's kind of like, listen here, buddy. All right, when I was working on the movie, when I was up at Mickey Rourke's house when we were doing shots, I didn't see you there, and it was just very smooth talker, really fucking insulting. Like, this is all pre-Trump stuff too, and there is stuff pre-Trump, pre-Me Too, everything, and it was like me at the time going like, these people exist and they're so insulting, and it's all for comedy. I don't know if those characters exist at the moment right now, but at the time I was like, oh my God, this guy's like a Trump almost. He really is. He's so nasty, but he's got a heart of gold. So anyways, the show is great. We got to work with a lot of awesome people, like, because it was so easy. We filmed it all on a GoPro. We just needed a sound package, and I would just hit up friends, and I would be like, it started, TV actors, film actors, we got Will Sasso on an episode, Dan Levy was on an episode, and we would just develop the characters more. First was them pitching Red Rover. Second season was Red Rover was being made and they were kicked off the set, so it was them driving to set. The third season was they don't have a pot to piss in, and they're drivers at the Burbank International Film Festival, and then we did a holiday episode. So, we just I followed the arcs of TV shows, and just, that's what it was.
Are you pretty good friends with Dan Levy?
Yeah, Dan and I are totally cool. I grew up with his family and our families being really close. So I remembered when I was a kid hanging out with him a few times, and then over the years have reconnected, and he's such a nice guy. Yeah, I'm really, really happy for the success and that Schitt's Creek had. And they're just that whole family, his sister Sarah and his parents are just really lovely, beautiful souls.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek blew up. Like, that was I heard the premise. I was like, this could be funny. I love Eugene Levy, but I didn't think that it would, you'd get what we got.
Right. Yeah. When I saw the Emmys, I was like, oh my God.
Right?
Was there anything else up for an Emmy? I didn't were they just running solo the whole time?
It sucks for anybody else nominated for a comedy anything.
I had one friend call, he's like, this show's winning everything. These guys are cool, right? And I'm like, dude, they're the best. They absolutely deserve everything. It was yeah. And I'm fortunate with my father's world, and being able to be around these people and throughout my life. And, I couldn't be luckier in a sense of getting to see some of these people work up close. And it's awesome. Catherine O'Hara is one of the funniest human beings on planet Earth.
There's something that makes me absolutely happy to hear that you and Dan Levy are really close. That's so cool.
We are, he's a busy guy these days, but he's definitely someone who, returns a text and is always super nice. So
I got to ask you about 6 Feet Apart. It came out this year.
6 Feet Apart. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. So 6 Feet Apart isn't out yet. It's in post-production. Okay. And it is, basically a show, it's a movie. This project, quarantine happens, and we all go into lockdown. And about 2 weeks into the lockdown, my friend JJ, she texts me and she says, "Are you interested in doing a feature film during lockdown?" And I said, "Sure." No one can come in here. And I live in a pretty small studio in LA. And they said, no, we're gonna drop a camera off, a lighting package and a sound package, and we're gonna do this film. It's gonna be 2 weeks. It'll be awesome. Okay, cool. So I meet this woman, Jessa Zabruka, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. And she's a writer director, and she is really, really kind, really, really talented. She says that her partner, her boyfriend, has this production house in Los Angeles with a ton of gear. Are you interested? Sure. What's it about? Well, it's like a rom-com about a couple that live in the same building and they fall for each other. They matched on a dating app and they never followed through with it. And then they realized they live in the same building and it's the day before lockdown. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. My character is myself, more or less, but a very, very nervous, germophobic hypochondriac, always getting in his own way. Character's name is Chris. And I embarked on what was like a 6-month process of making a film because I had to do everything. We had a DP and a director on a Zoom call. And then I had to set the camera, set the shot up, make sure it was in focus. I would go around and I would, videotape with my cell phone, the image that I had pre-recorded to set up the shot. It would take maybe an hour and a half to set up a shot sometimes, and you get 1 or 2 takes. And it's a functional kind of film in regards to the medium. We use Zoom recording, cell phone recording, and, very nice camera film or digital film. And it all hybrids together. And so I'm really excited to see it. I think she's right now just finishing. I know the edit's locked and I know she's in sound and color right now. So that's something that we're hoping to get out pretty soon. And that's a great film. I was happy with that one too, because I got to put some friends in that one. People I worked with in acting class, Nanan Visser, I think that's her last name, I'm saying it, but she was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, I believe was the show. Yeah, so got random people in it, but it was all like labor of love, super fun getting, people in the mix, and ended up, getting a feature film out of quarantine. So
that's awesome. I've been really digging. People have been really creative with the format of Zoom.
Totally. Yeah. It's in a time where everyone was like, not sure what was going to happen. We all figured it out. We figured out a way to talk to people, communicate, make things,
and that's really cool too. Like you said, it's very multi-formats, but you had to do now you're wearing 4 hats because you gotta set up all your own stuff. So like that's really interesting to me. Like, do you feel like you've grown more from that, like just because you had to do all these things?
Sure. Yeah, it makes you appreciate, I always have, but it really makes you appreciate, like, when it's a collective effort. Everyone's really working together to make a thing, and I did sound out of college, so I always had an appreciation for sound. But even from the actor to the writer to the director to the lighter to the gaffer to the grip to all of these things, they all play like a pretty crucial role. And I think I was just very humbled, and I also, it was like a big testament to patience, because you just had to have it, because we were birthing the baby as it was coming. We'd never know. We were one of the first productions, period, that was working. And we were like, we would get notes from people on other shows that were like big shows, and they would be like bumping into the same problems we were bumping into. So I'm really happy for that one to come out. But I'm happy it's also taking its time in order to get the edit and the sound right. We don't have the money like a Netflix or anything like that. So.
Trying to get that Hulu money.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she's able to sell it. That's a good thing. We're at a moment right now where people are just open to buying things. So I have a sense that it will find a nice home when it's packaged and ready to go.
Yeah, it's any sort of media is, I think, at a premium right now, just because people are you've watched everything. You had all the time to sit at home and watch all this stuff, but now what? It's pretty crazy. How have you been? Obviously you've been working a little bit during the pandemic. How have you been? During all this craziness.
Dude, I've been like riding all the fucking feelings, man. It's like I think that's the trick with this. It's like I'm a runner, so I'm like, once I felt and figured out how to like do that safely, and I realized I could run with a mask on and all that stuff, I was able to that was crucial, just get out there and hit that up. And then we're in a surge right now in LA, so it's like it's a little different right now. Like everyone's a bit more precautious in regards to how they're getting out there and what they're doing. A lot of people aren't doing Thanksgivings together and all of that. It's a different time, but I look back on it going I was really fortunate this summer. I got to go to my nephew's birthday. I got to have a small little backyard birthday. My mom, we did a backyard thing. It makes those moments even more precious and cool. But then dude, the first couple months were brutal. It was and I was just fortunate that I kicked into writing mode and podcast mode and film mode to do stuff. So
are you doing your own podcast?
I do. Yeah. I have one called Bumper to Bumper with Rick Darge, the guy who directed Chowchilla. And initially it was a show where we were driving around in LA. And he was in his car and I was in my car, and we would do the podcast in bumper to bumper, gridlock traffic. I have to do something in a car always. I don't know what the fuck that is, but, it started there, and we'd get some guests and they'd come in the car and we'd interview them. And it was an hour-long podcast. And then when this all started, it turned into a weekly, let's cheer everybody up, radio style podcast. Doesn't really get to anything. It's just a bunch of guys kind of talking.
That's how our podcast is typically, just us talking about nothing.
It's great though, because some people need structure, and then other people just want to put something on the background and listen, and I totally love those. They're calming for me when I can just listen to people kind of have a convo.
Yeah, we don't even talk to each other during the week. We just wait until it's recording time.
These are the topics. Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Save it. Yeah. So do you got a few more minutes?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about your improv days.
Sure.
You did improv at Groundlings, Second City, and Upright Citizens Brigade. Those are some big places. Right.
So the main school I went to learn was UCB, and they have a 4-level program over there where you basically learn how to do the Herald. And then I took class over at Groundlings. I just took one class over there, and primarily on my IMDb, I just put that there just so if casting directors see it, they know that you're trained or have taken classes. And then with Second City, I've been over there prior to all of this going through, and I was on a couple teams over there, and I was getting coached by coaches over there on this team Dazzle, and then I started my own show over there called Live from the Hollywood Room. So I was performing over there pretty regularly. But I studied there, but I remember I had this improv coach, this guy named Johnny Meeks, and he was my kind of first improv coach I had, where I was able to just kind of ask him, like, how do you do this? Like I know how to be in a band because I've been in bands forever, but how do you do this? And he just said, this is what you do, man. Take the class and then find a team and start in practicing, get a coach maybe, and then do the Herald like 1,000 times. And then basically when I reconnected with my friend Rick Darge, he said, I have a practice team that's going on. And then we started a team called the Beach Bunnies. And it was, a bunch of friends, and we started an indie team basically. And I cut my teeth pretty hard with them because we had tried a bunch of different coaches, and and we just played all the indie spots around LA. And for me, that was a very awesome time. It was like 2 years of my life where it was like every Saturday night we'd go play this one show and then go to bars and hang out, and it was super duper fun. And I really learned a lot just from getting up there and doing it like a billion times, kind of like what my teacher had said. But up till now I was at Second City, and I was just exclusively there playing with the Dazzle team, and then with Jason and doing Live from the Hollywood Room.
What is the Herald?
So the Herald is basically it is a structured improv where it's got several beats that are going on in it. So it's like you have your first beat of a scene. So it's a specific structure. So it's like 3 levels, or I guess 5 levels, and it's like 3 first beat scenes, a group game. The second scenes are revisited in the second beats, basically. Then another group game, and then the third beats. And the third beats, the scenes can tie anything together. So if I'm in the first round of a scene and I start a scene where I am a chef and I'm cooking, and I'm arguing with my brother, we could take that argument, we could take that relationship, we could take the same characters, and in the second beat, develop that same scene, or have another scene about fighting brothers, or have another scene about whatever, and that would be the second beat. And then the third beat, I could take anything from anywhere and try and connect those dots. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically it's a way of structuring story, and it's just one way to do improv. It's I haven't done it in a long time, but the improv I was doing primarily towards the end was like a short form and a long form, where you just do various scenes. It can have a bunch of different structures. You can do whatever you want with it. And but the Herald was basically that. And UCB, that's their structure from what I understand, and from what I took away from it, is they're going to teach you how to do the Herald, and you go through 4 levels of learning how to do that. And then there's their theaters, they'll have a Herald night where you get to see a Herald performed, or they'll have a short form night or whatever. And so, I've kind of, it's fun when comedy was really up and going before all of this. It was nice to bounce around to a bunch of different theaters and perform and do all kinds of things.
That's what I miss most during this pandemic is comedy. Max and I, we braved the storm to go to the comedy club here to watch Josh Wolf. And I realized like how much I actually missed it because it got me out of the house. I have not really left my house since this whole COVID thing started.
Yeah.
I'm home. I don't want to get sick. My mom just got over cancer. So, and she still insists on seeing me. So I'm trying to keep my distance from as many people as possible. But I couldn't not go. Like I wanted to go to the comedy club so bad. It was like 4 months after the pandemic started, and I was starting to itch to get out.
And that was really cool. And you have like Dave Chappelle doing his thing out in the cornfield in northern Ohio. It's like you don't realize how much you need. Like that. Like when we were there and just laughing and having a good time. Like it's amazing how much you miss. Like you don't even realize you miss it that much until you get a little taste of it back. But no, it was good. Do you feel like improv? Like I dabble in stand-up comedy, but do you feel like improv is sort of like that, where it's like it's easy to not hit and very hard to just carry it along the whole time? Because
sure,
I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think improv and stand-up are both very different things. Right. A lot of people think that there's a similarity to them because it's under the veil of comedy, right? And I think I hosted a comedy show once where I had to write jokes, but I realized that I'm not a stand-up, and I really respect stand-ups, because it's like they dedicate their whole life to this art form, and it's the same for improv too. Like you have to dedicate. I always say that improv's like a yoga practice. You're going to do it. You could potentially be doing it your whole life. So it's like there's going to be times, even when you're like at the top of your game, that your hips might still be super tight, because you haven't done it in a while. So yeah, you could be like really good and still suck, in improv. And that's kind of what I like about it. And that's, I think, the same in stand-up. I think from what I understand with stand-up, it's like you got to get into the rhythm and the beat of your jokes and the architecture of your joke and all that, and your set. And in improv, you have to be really attentive, paying attention in the moment. All these big concepts and words people throw at you at classes and schools that like don't fucking hit me when I first hear them. But it isn't until like this one coach, this guy Jason, who I did my show with at Second City, he just explained it so well and about tension relief. And it's like, I think that this relates to all performance, but it's like the audience is nervous when someone walks onto stage. They're just like nervous. They're kind of like, all right, what are you going to do? Unless they have faith in you, unless you're like, a huge comedian, you know what I mean? And so if you're just a nobody or a random improv team, the audience is like, haha, yeah, all right. Like, and it's the job of the performer to play with that tension, but really relax everybody and with confidence say like, hey, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. No, and we all know what we're doing. And in improv, we got each other's backs. We're going to watch out for each other. We are going to do our very best to make this funny. And once you get past that element, which a lot of teams miss, and I missed for years, of just like letting everybody know we got this, we're going to perform in front of you, then you can start playing with things. And then you can start playing with the pressure and the tension. And then that's where it could get tricky. A lot of people, I think, jump to the tricky stuff first, which is cool. But, the audience won't be on board. I went to a stand-up night here, actually. And it was at an outdoor event. And I was so surprised. There's some comedians who got it and they were just like, no, everyone's been locked in. I'm just going to please everybody. And then there were some comics who were like trying really difficult material. And I was like, no one was laughing. And I was like, oh man, but that's a stand-up. They want to try. They got to keep working it, and that's the art of it. So, I do know what you're talking about in regards to that feeling of shakiness because I felt it all the time. I still do. I just think with improv over the times, I've kind of gone like, I think I've got a few little tricks in my back pocket that if it's going south, I can like always turn on like a blowhard, car salesman. All right, everybody. I always like in an improv scene, I always pretend to smoke a cigarette. And I think that I don't smoke, but I think it's because like that's me like calming myself down. So I'll be on stage. You guys watch Westworld last night? And then the audience goes, oh, okay, car salesman, having a break, talking about Westworld, whatever. I don't know. That's my little cheat.
That's great, though. I smoke a fake cigarette to make myself feel better.
Yeah. What the hell are you talking about, buddy? No.
I got one more question for you. I used to watch this show every week. You were involved with supplying the voice for Camp Candy.
Yeah.
I want to know, what was that like going into the vocal booth at such a young age?
Well, that's like a different lifetime ago, but it's still a part of my journey, man. My dad, created this show in the height of animation in the early 90s, and I think it was late 80s, early 90s, and he was really, when I look back on his career, he was doing a radio show, he had an animation, he was owner of a Canadian football team. He was really spreading himself out there as a successful businessman, entertainer, whatever you want to call it. And he went into animation and Camp Candy. I think he did it partially for my sister and I, because we were both kids and we were obsessed with Saturday morning cartoons like we all were. I think he saw that. And but then on top of it, I think he really wanted to tell stories about camp, and when you watch those, it's just, pretty basic, right? A funny camp with kids. And, so then it just got to a point where he had such a big heart, and I think he just wanted to involve us. I think it was fun for him, and it wasn't intimidating at all, because he was such a, he was a dad, he wasn't Mr. Perfect, but he was definitely like, had a big heart, and when I look back on that time, it wasn't nerve-wracking at all. And I remember him showing the character that I ended up playing. I saw the animation. I was just thought that was so cool. And I was just, man, I have to say, to share my time on Earth with him and have him be my dad, I was super fucking lucky, man. And it's a beautiful thing. And so I think of moments like that, and where his generosity and his heart just shine through really brightly.
Yeah, I love that show, and I was really happy to find out you were a part of it and your sister was a part of it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we had a farm up in Canada. I mean, we still have land, but there's no house on it anymore. But he would film the bumper spots on the property. So he was always very much trying to, and I understand that, but he wanted to ground his productions in his reality around him, and make involve people and be open and helpful and collaborative with people. So he bought this farm with my mom when he was doing at a Second City, and this was before anything. And then next thing he knows, he's filming spots for Camp Candy there in the early 90s. So he was cool that way, man. I respect that, and I love that. But yeah, it was a fun show, Camp Candy.
It was. I was flipping through YouTube the other day, and somebody had it on there.
Dude, one of the funny things I was noticing with that was it's a part of the Marvel comic universe.
Is it?
It's a part of the MCU, because they did Camp Candy comic books, and Camp Candy is part of it. And I was going like, in the end scene of Endgame, I'm like, oh man, that would have been fucking real deep. I think I tweeted something like, the only person to survive the Thanos snap was the Camp Candy.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Super.
Yeah, I just realized that. I remember my friend pointed it out, actually.
I'm gonna start that Twitter thing. Hashtag Chris Candy for the MCU.
Yeah, dude, get that.
I think, it didn't trend, but I noticed. I was like, whoa, okay, interesting. Anyway.
Max, did you have any questions?
No, I'm just like awestruck a little bit. Like it's I'm just very appreciative to have you on, man. You've been super cool.
Oh, dude, yeah. I when you reached out, I can't remember. Was it through some story went out or something like that? I know you all of a sudden kind of showed up.
It was after your dad's birthday's anniversary. I was doing research on them, and I realized that you and your sister were in the business, and I started looking at your IMDb, and I'm like, man, they seem fascinating. So I reached out to both of you.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll let Jen know. I'm sure she's I'm sure she would love to hop on the show.
But I have something I want to talk to you about after the broadcast. But where can everybody find you online?
It's Chris Candy for you on Twitter, and Chris Candy forever. on Instagram, and then ChristopherCandy.com is all my website stuff, and you'll be able to navigate through all the stuff we were talking about on those sites.
Well, I think I can speak for Max when I say you've got 2 fans here for life. Thank you so
fans.
much for coming on the podcast.
Really respect that, guys. Yeah, that's super nice, and I love talking shop. It's so fun.
And everybody, the links to all of Chris's stuff will be in the description of this audio or this video. And thank you guys so much for checking us out.
Recycle your droids.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another 3 Geeks interview. I am not sitting next to John or Justin. I am here today with Mick, who is my new partner in crime as far as our team up with the Scene Snobs. Lots of fun. Can't wait to do this interview with him. And I'm here with Jennifer Candy. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Hanging in there.
I'm so glad we finally got to make this work. Scheduling has been crazy, but we're here.
Yep, we made it. We survived. We're out of 2020 into 2021.
I don't know it's going much better.
No, let's be honest. Was it really going to get any better right off the go? You know, we have to ease into it. Just go in quietly.
2020 refuses to concede the year, so it's just leaking over a little bit.
Yeah.
But this might be an obvious answer. It might not be. But what made you want to get into acting and comedy?
Oh gosh, probably the obvious. Well, I was surrounded by it, so I grew up around it. I actually didn't want to get into it when I was really little. I was going to be a veterinarian or a marine biologist. I think like every young child in the 80s that wanted to be an either, marine biologist of some sort. But it was, I don't know, I just kind of enjoyed, like in theater. In high school, I got into plays a little bit, and then in college, I was a theater major, and I realized that I actually did love doing it. So I just did more of it, and wanted to learn everything about it, from stage, directing, building, not just the acting aspect of it. I wanted to learn everything about it. And then moved to Chicago, worked at Second City out there, got into improv and kind of enjoyed the Second City aspect of that. And it was fun. I just, I've always wanted to, and then I realized, I think I'm in it and I've dedicated so much time to it and I love it. So it's like, that's how I got there.
I think we should probably mention that Jennifer is the daughter of the great John Candy.
Yes, that is correct. If you don't recognize the last name, yeah, my father was John Candy, who wasn't a stranger to Second City and SCTV. So I grew up around it. I grew up watching SCTV. I grew up with those kind of comedic icons as like family members essentially, and I was always around funny people, and I liked to make people laugh, and I liked I like the process of writing and creating something and, putting it out there for people.
Well, if I could ask, when you were getting into improv and you were getting into acting, was there any way you went about it, like classes, things like that you... I
did. So I started off, besides going to college for theater, where they teach you everything, like you take theater classes from like Alexander technique to, you learn all of that stuff. And then when I went into improv, because they didn't have so much of that in school, and let's be honest, you learn a lot from doing. So I I started taking classes at Second City, Los Angeles when it opened up here. And it was a really, really, really small school. So I didn't quite, I wanted to actually really go for the experience. So I went to Chicago and I just started taking classes there. I went through their conservatory program. I worked in the box office. And I just started doing that. So that was kind of, I took classes. I learned, I learned from the best people that were teaching there, who were actually on the main stage and ETC stage, and then learn from them.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's such, because Second City has such a long storied history. It had to, not just because your father was a huge part of that history, but you stepping in, how did it feel? Like, just getting into it. It
was a surreal experience. I had gone to go visit. We would actually go look for apartments. So my mom and I, we flew out to Chicago because we had to figure out where I was going to live. So we were looking for apartments, and we had been all over Chicago, and we couldn't find it. We were exhausted. We were going to these places that like addresses didn't exist. We couldn't get a hold of landlords. It was technically neighborhoods where I was like, do I really want to be here. And it was too much of a commute to Second City. And so my mom was like, okay, well, let's go back to Second City. Let's walk around where your dad used to live, because he lived right around the corner from Second City. So we were like, great. So my mom took me to the street that he used to live on, which was Crilly Court, which was right in Old Town in Chicago. And we were looking, and it's a block of buildings that are now condos, that were apartments. And we look, and the building that my dad used to live in, there was a for rent sign, and we went, oh my gosh. And so we went, this is it. And for me, and then also we was reading it was like, okay, for rent, this is it. Pets available, pets allowed. I was like, cause I had 2 cats at the time and I wanted a dog. And so we called them up, and they said it was for available. So we literally took a taxi cab to the landlord place, and we put a deposit down, and we went back to LA, and I moved to Chicago like a couple weeks later. Like I drove cross country with my best friend, and we packed up the car, and I started there, and that was it. And so it was kind of that like, oh, that was meant to happen, that I lived there. And the Second City, at some point, they did these walking tours of Chicago, walking tours. So it was actors from Second City. They would take you around Old Town and give you a history lesson. So I became part of the Second City walking tour for a while. So they would say that this is where John Candy used to live, and his daughter currently is here, who's currently working in the box office. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. And it wasn't obviously the same unit that I lived in, because my dad lived in a back unit looking at this kind of like alley cul-de-sac, and I had a front unit. But it was the same building. So it was still pretty like, this is pretty cool.
What an omen! What an omen to like
right?
be going to Chicago, and then that particular building is
available. That was it, and I loved it. It was a cute. And on the other side, so the apartments that I lived in, on Crilly Court, but then across the way, it used to be a backlot for all the Charlie Chaplin films when Charlie Chaplin shot back there. So there's a lot of history in that little nook right there, and so I had no idea that Crilly Court was so famous for old Charlie Chaplin films.
I think a lot of people don't realize how huge Chicago is in history of filmmaking.
Yeah,
there's so much, because so much talent comes from Chicago.
Exactly, and that was another reason. It's like my dad had shot so many movies there, and we had a place there for a little bit, and so I'd always go from Toronto, Chicago, Los Angeles, and so they all felt like home to me. So to move somewhere, I wanted to move out of Los Angeles for a little bit, and so Chicago just was always pulling on me. And there's so much history there, and it's a great starter city for actors too. Like people think of like, oh, go to Los Angeles. I'm like, no, go to Chicago. Go experience the theater there. Go experience. You could be all the movies that they shoot there. It's just tons of my friends were, they got little roles on there. They became, background artists. It was just like, there's so much to do there. It's surreal.
That's so awesome.
That's incredible. So, I got to ask, how do you get a job working on According to Jim?
Well, when I moved back from Chicago, I had no idea what the heck I was doing. So I sent my resume to all of my dad's friends, and just kind of went around and was like, I am looking for work. And so Jim responded, and he was like, great. I have this show called According to Jim. I'll bring you on as a background artist. And I said, fantastic. And so I became a regular background player on According to Jim. And then after a year or so of doing background stuff, I eventually became a stand-in. So stand-ins essentially stand in for the actors for camera and lighting purposes and rehearsal. And so I started doing that, and then I got little bit parts from it. And so it was a really nice gig, and it was great because it was consistent work. And that's what any actor kind of looks for, is consistent work. And I got to learn a lot. I got to meet tons of my friends. So from According to Jim, all of the directors and assistant directors and crew members all went on to go do all the Disney shows that your daughter was watching. So Liv and Maddie, Lab Rats. So I moved from According to Jim. Then I did a bunch of different little shows in between, but Wizards of Waverly Place. So everyone who I've been working with for years, we've all known each other from According to Jim. So that's where we all started. And we've gone on to just, it's been nice because a lot of the crew sticks together, and so they move from production to production, and so we just landed in the Disney World for the longest time.
You mentioned sending your resume out to your dad's friends. When I interviewed your brother, and I even watched Couch Candy, which is one of your shows.
Yeah.
You guys, he said that you guys were especially close to the Levy family growing up.
Yes, we were. Yeah, close to the Levies. We're close to like everyone, all of them really. It was like the Flahertys, the Levies, Dave Thomas, John Hughes. Of course, he wasn't Second City, but he was another close, really family friend. But I think, and then I also like reach out to like Don Lake, who is a big Canadian actor and who and all the Christopher Guest films and stuff like that. So he was also kind of a mentor to me. And then Tino Insana, who came from Second City, was my dad's best friend. When my dad passed, he really kind of stepped in and was like, okay, here, let me meet my agent. And he did the voice of Uncle Ted on Bobby's World. He was, he did Bushroot from Darkwing Duck, the villain character there. He's Bubble Guppies, which is Mr. Grouper now, which is my son's absolute favorite show.
Oh my God, you just blew my mind. Uncle Ted is Mr. Grouper.
Right?
And I was just watching Bubble Guppies with my 4-year-old this morning, and
So now you're gonna look at Mr. Grouper and go, oh my gosh, it's Uncle Ted. And he was the pig on Barnyard. I know. Once you have kids, your mind just kind of like, you're like, oh, there you go. But so yeah, no, we were definitely really close with a lot of. So I sent my resume out. Tino was the one who actually helped me get my first agent. He introduced me to his agent, and then eventually I'm with the people who represented him for commercially and also for voiceover and stuff like that. So it's like he passed away a couple years ago, but he was just such a huge influence on me. And then I always, stayed in contact with like the Levies and all that stuff, and just kind of I always picked their brain, but it was also still family. So it's like you kind of want them to do their thing, and you're doing your thing, and you don't want to impose or anything. But Jim was great because he employed me for so many years, and I learned a lot, and I made so many connections. I don't think I would be where I am without those connections, but it was good. It was a lot of fun, and I still connect with all those people through Couch Candy.
You worked with your brother on the show. I have it right here. Where was it? Oh no, I lost it. Hold on.
Which one? Well, I did. Well, he's created
a party.
Where's his party? Which is him and his friend Garen. They created these two amazing characters, and so I played a wacky character in it. So that was a lot of fun, and yeah. So we've done little projects here and there, and I helped him when I think it was a couple years ago. Him and Garen, also his same writing partner. They wrote Chowchilla, and we shot that, and I helped kind of like produce a little bit with that, and kind of because it was just the two of them, and I had a little small role in that as well. So that was fun.
What's it like working with your brother?
It's fun. I love it. It's we're very supportive, but we're also very like, if we see something that needs fixing, or like being like, oh, you could try this a little bit better, you could do this. It's good because it comes from a place of not being too critical. Like we're like, oh wait, okay, that means like, okay, I really take to heart like what he says. He's like, Jen, try and do this, or you're looking over here too much, or you're doing this, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll fix that. And I do the same with him, and he's like, oh, okay. So it's nice to kind of have someone who has your back the whole entire time.
From years of like, I'm sure visiting sets, your father was on. Is there anything that like is in the back of your mind, like when you're doing a scene or you're on a set, like maybe you just remembered it, like advice or just, how somebody did something or portrayed something. You're like, you know what? I like that maybe stuck with you over the years.
Yeah, it's, well, it kind of comes with the preparation and beforehand. It's like going on set, and it's just treating everyone with kind and being nice, and being just going in and making friends and being comfortable. So if you're comfortable, and then that kind of creates like some sort of trust between everyone, that you can kind of be free to do whatever you want. So if you're going to make a fool of yourself, might as well make a fool in front of all your friends or people that you don't really know. But it gives you that kind of, or I don't know. It's like John Lake gave me some good advice. It was mostly with auditions, and it's just do it as if like just have fun with it. Who cares? Like, if you're not having fun with it, don't you're not. Just it's one take, it's one scene. Just have fun with it, and those are the ones that end up being the ones that are used, or the ones that are not. Just that come from a place of just being natural, and you're more relaxed and comfortable and stuff like that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I worked with a first AD a long time ago. I was just a PA at the time, and he always said, he's like, Michael, please and thank you.
Yeah.
Always say please and thank you, no matter what. And it just, that stuff sticks with you when you're there.
With everyone. It's like, from background to stand-in to laughers to PAs, like people who are running around getting you stuff. It's like, if you can get it yourself, maybe get it yourself. And if you really can't, then please ask someone. But there's no need for attitude. And unless unless someone's being a complete a-hole on set to you, then you just kind of, don't get walked on, but you shouldn't be the person that's walking on other people.
I've always said it's the only job I can't wait at the end of the day to get home, but I cannot wait to get back the next day.
I know it's it's a lot, because people. So you did production assistant and stuff like that. Is that what you were?
I started out as that. I was a producer for a while too.
Yeah. So it's like, no, it is. It's like, because you're the last one there and you're the first one there in the morning, so you have to love it.
Oh yeah, except the sound guys, they can get there late and leave early.
I know, right? Why is that? You don't need sound this take, right?
No, it's I mean, you Camp Candy. I know Jason was gonna ask too, but I need to ask about Camp Candy because I grew up on that.
Yeah.
I was a kid right at the right time when that came out.
Oh, so such a great show.
It was. I always wondered, like, what did your dad have, like, what made him want to do a cartoon? I mean, I guess it's the.
I think it's also you have to look at the time. It was the 90s, where everyone was creating a cartoon show for themselves. You had Howie Mandel doing Bobby's World. You had Louis Anderson doing the Louis Anderson, like the Louis. Was that the kids show? I can't remember. But Louis Anderson had his own show. So it was like every big actor was doing their own cartoon. And my dad loved the camping idea and loved cartoons. And so I think for him, that was something that he just thought was, well, this is what I do next. It's like it was film. And then he wasn't quite into the television. I think if he stayed around a little bit longer, he would have gone into television. But at the time, television wasn't something that you did. You accomplished everything else before you did like true television, like meaning. But he did cartoons, and it's a great gig because he created a great show. He brought his friends on. He had his kids do a couple voices. We did live segments that we shot in Canada on our farm and in the backwoods area, where he would do these little like PSAs about camping and don't like all this fun stuff. And we, it was like my brother and my best friend were in the background like fishing and doing like weird stuff. And it was just, that's what you did. And Camp Candy was just loved by so many people because it was such a fun concept. It's like, to this day, I still feel like there should be something done with Camp Candy, like just a spinoff of some sort. But because it's Marvel, Camp Candy is Marvel, if you know that. So I'm like, there's got to be a Marvel, spinoff somewhere there.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I would love to see it revived in some way, or
even just brought back. Like yeah. I have them on VHS, but I would love to have them on DVD or some sort of because downloadable so that my son can watch them. And it's because I don't have the VHS hooked up, but it's like that. I can find them on YouTube, but it's like I want something that people can, all their hard work can get paid for, as opposed to ripped off the internet.
Yeah, legit. But like something like that. Like, what was that like? Were you around 11 or 12 at the time, correct?
I think so. Yes, that sounds about right. I remember my dad. I had to audition for one of the character voices, and I think it was like auditioning. I don't know if I was auditioning to play Vanessa, because they already had a wonderful actress who played Vanessa, and then were for an episode. They had me do her voice for something. And so I remember like practicing lines with my dad, and I had it in a Valley, because I had watched the show and I wanted to do it in a Valley Girl accent. And my dad was like, no, I want you to do it in your normal voice. And I was like, well, she's a Valley Girl and I'm going to do it in a Valley Girl accent. And my dad was like, we had this like huge argument about it. And so I went in and I took my dad's notes and I did it normally. And then the director, she said, great. Now, Jennifer, can you do it in a Valley Girl accent? So I remember looking at my dad going, I told you. Because I know what the character they wanted for the character, but it was fun just going in, because my dad had a studio in his office in Los Angeles here, and we would just go in, and we also just watched him work. It's like he would be in there and he'd be doing either stuff for Camp Candy, and then he was also doing stuff for Radio Candy. So he would do radio segments there, which aired in Toronto, Canada, I think. Toronto. I don't know if it aired in the States.
I've never heard of Radio Candy.
Radio Candy is amazing. It was a radio show from 89 to 91, I think it was, but it was legit. Like, it was kind of like a sketch comedy radio show with amazing music in between that he just, Google it, or, and I'll post a couple things. I don't think there's any audio of it anywhere. Like, I obviously have stuff, but I don't know how to like get it out there. I could probably get some of the sketches out there, but I couldn't get the music because of the copyright stuff. And there's legit commercials. Like, it's like I have copies of like all the weird commercials that were happening there.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
A hero in film, hero in television, now a hero to podcasters, radio person.
Right? He just wanted to do it all. It's like, tough act to follow.
I've watched some of your stuff and research, and you're not a tough act to follow.
Thank you.
You got the talent.
I appreciate that.
So I got to ask you about your time on One Day at a Time.
Yes.
There's not a lot of shows that deal with social issues anymore, and there's One Day at a Time, and there's the Connors.
Yep.
And I think they're both doing that pretty well, but One Day at a Time was exceptional.
Oh, they did. Gloria did a phenomenal job with that. Gloria and I went to college together. She was a little bit older than Gloria Keller. She was the creator of the show. And so she called me because she needed a scene with a bunch of her friends, and someone couldn't make it. And so she called me. And so she actually called my brother-in-law and was like, wait, who I need contact information. And, my brother-in-law, Chris, was like, oh, call Jen. And so she called me, and it was like this last minute thing. And so I went in, and I was so happy to be a part of it, because that show is it's doing the right thing at the right time and just the right issues. And it just is, it's a good show. It's just quality television. And I think everyone on that show is super talented and super nice. And I was happy to be a part of it for, even if it was just for one episode, I was really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You're right. It's something that it seems to be going away. Like, it seems like they're coming with a lot of social issues, especially in sitcoms, which is it's always been sort of the home.
Yeah.
For social issues, in my opinion. Like,
that's how, it's all the stuff that we watched growing up. It's like, it was sitcoms, and it wasn't necessarily the 1 hour stuff. It was the sitcoms that were dealing with the everyday issues. But the Connors is doing it, I think, really well too. I watch that show and I enjoy it. And I have a lot of friends that work on it too. And
yeah, the way they've handled COVID on that show, the Connors, has been amazing. No,
it's great. I know it has been. It's just because it's truth. The thing is comedy is in reality, and and it's also not necessarily, doesn't have to always be funny. It just has to be real, and people will be interested and intrigued.
Yeah, that is legit. So you said you have a son?
I do. I have a son, 2 years old.
We're all parents here.
We're all parents.
I want to ask.
How are you doing with all that?
Hanging in there, for sure. I have an 8-year-old and I have a 4-year-old, and my 8-year-old's favorite movie of all time is Home Alone.
Oh, I love it. And
I told him, I was like, John Candy, because we've been introducing him to John Candy this past year in 2020. I was like, if you need laughs,
that's good. Home Alone's a good one to have him watch too.
But I gotta ask, as his daughter, what movies are you introducing?
Okay, well, we've already introduced Rescuers Down Under because his character as Wilbur, and we have my husband found before he was born, he found these like, they're not animation cells, but they're like storyboards, but they're stamps. So it was this whole like, so it's all of the stories, it's the whole story movie, and we got them framed and we put them in his room, and then I had a couple cells, so we introduced him to Rescuers Down Under, Cool Runnings.
Nice.
Which is a great one. And then he's seen, like, does he understand? No, because he's 2. But he has seen parts of Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, Great Outdoors, because they're on. And, like, if they're on TV, it's like it's like, there's Grandpa. Trying to think what other ones Spaceballs, because we have, when my husband went to Comic-Con with his brother, they came back with this great artwork of my dad from Barf, and so we have that hung up and so every time he sees it, he points, and we're like, oh, that's Grandpa, and so he probably thinks Grandpa's a Mog, but but he does see that, so we try and introduce him to, but it's mostly like the cartoons, and Cool Runnings was something because one of my husband's favorite movies, and it's also family friendly, and it's like, there's nothing it's just entertainment. And Wilbur was a little hard because he was like, it's like a voice, so he doesn't quite understand that concept, but he did watch it, and he recognizes it from the pictures in his room. And he gets it, I think, to an extent. And so we show him movies, so it's like, if it's on, it's on, and that some of it will just, he's not absorbing all the bad language yet.
Well, now you have to set up the VCR.
I know.
Introduce them to Mom's first.
I know.
There's some John Candy movies I gotta pick up on VHS because they're so hard to find on DVD.
There's some that are hard out there, but yeah, I know. Which ones are you trying to get?
Only the Lonely.
Oh yeah,
that's my all-time favorite. It's his third movie with Macaulay Culkin.
Yep. No, Only the Lonelies is such a great movie too. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if I have that one. I think we have, like, my mom would always pick them up and she'd pick up copies for us and stuff like that. They just come and go.
Do you find it hard watching his movies, or is it more like watching home videos almost?
It's a combination of both. I think it depends on the mood I'm in. But most of the time I enjoy watching them. If it's during the holidays, I love watching Trains, Planes, and Home Alone, and Great Outdoors, and then during the summer it's like Great Outdoors. You want to watch all these other, the summer rental. I like watching them. I don't really. But there's sometimes it can be a little overkill where you're just like, oh, okay, I don't need to watch this anymore. But I love, I went through it like a huge. I love JFK. Like, that's such a great movie, and my dad did such a great job in that. So it's like, if that's ever on, I'm always like, oh, I just sit there and watch it because it's such a good movie. Oliver Stone, and
I firmly believe your dad would have gotten an Oscar eventually.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, JFK alone, his scenes in that, he chewed up the entire.
Yeah, he works so hard on that character. He had a dialogue coach, and we went to New Orleans, and he worked really hard because he wanted to. This was like a big deal, and it wasn't a comedy, and it was like he didn't want to come to set and be like, oh, there's the funny guy. It was like he wanted to come to set and be like, look, this is what I can do, and he did, and it was phenomenal.
Well, I got to ask you about something about you, which is couch candy, which you're moving it over to podcast form, right? I
am in the process of doing that slowly but surely. But that was something, and my editor friend Chris and I were like, okay, let's just how do we get it out there more? And because the reality of doing more couch candies right now is a little challenging without it being something like this. But I liked the concept of being on a couch, talking with someone, super casual, super comfortable. And that's why I created Couch Candy. I just kind of wanted stories that my dad's friends had that may or may not have been told, or just told in a different and more relaxed setting. So I created that and did that. And then this lovely 2020, I was able to get all the other shows that I had previously recorded just edited and put them out for everyone to watch. And so then I'm like, okay, well, the next step, because everyone's like, oh, I love them, but I listen to them, I don't necessarily watch them. And I was like, no, I know, it's like, I appreciate it. Because I think originally I didn't turn it into a podcast is because I had video clips and I had photos that I like. That was something that I wanted different out of this show, was something that like you can actually see that you wouldn't see, because it was like photos that you might have never seen that my mom took, or it was very visual. But now I'm like, okay, I can switch it over to a podcast, so I'm going to do that.
That's fantastic. I've watched and listened, and it's fantastic.
I'm glad you like it. It's a fun show to do, and there was a benefit that I did for a charity I work for last month, and I brought back couch candy for a short edition with my brother-in-law Chris Sullivan. So that was fun to do. So we did it outside. So it was something that I was like, okay, was I able to get like one show in for the year? It was an abridged version, but it was still fun to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, it's a great concept too. Like
yeah, thank you.
And it reminds me of like, because I was in no way, shape, or form an entertainer, and I didn't have talent like that. But
we're all entertainers.
Well, I would film a friend of mine's group at IO West in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
And so like I got to sit in, and it just always seemed like after everything died down and everybody was gone, like everybody just chilled on the couch, and that's where the conversations come.
Yeah. That's essentially it. It's the before and the after, and it's just that kind of, it's just that the just being comfortable and just relaxed and not so like, and it was something different at the time that a lot of talk shows weren't doing. It was, because you would go and you'd have the host and you would have the couch and they would talk, and it was just, but I just wanted it to be more, relaxed.
Yeah, and it definitely is, for sure.
Right before we let you go, I have one last question, and that is, what 2 TV shows have you watched during quarantine that you like, or movies?
Oh gosh, what haven't I watched? Okay, I've done. There's too many. Like, this is a whole other hour of a show of what have we watched during pandemic.
Don't lie, Tiger King.
Yeah, no, I did not get into that. I would think I was the only person that my husband and I were like, man, no, we didn't. I didn't want to get into it. Cobra Kai, completely just binge watched the whole entire thing. And then, the Queen's Gambit,
that was amazing.
Oh, that was so good. Awesome. Queen's Gambit, Cobra Kai. The Boys. I finally caught up on The Boys. I had never watched that, and I was just like, this is so good. This is so wrong and so just very violent. But I really like that one. So yeah, I said 3. So those were the 3 that I've been watching. And then obviously the your go-to shows that aren't, but sometimes I just need to binge watch things. I
think Cobra Kai is my favorite show that's out right now. But there's a certain of reality you just got to understand does not exist within the show, and the show is perfect.
It is. I think this season, there's no spoiler alerts, but this season I definitely kind of went, really, with the fighting? Like, it just seemed to me, I was like, ugh. But because I love everything about it. I love the fight choreography. I think it's phenomenal. But there's just something to it this year where I was like, why am I just not why am I waiting for them to just stop? Like, it was a moment of but other than that, I love all the nostalgia. I love the connections. I love this new story of Johnny. It's so good. It's just, it's a huge Karate Kid fan. I'm just, it's super happy about it.
As much of Johnny dealing with technology they can give me, I absolutely love everything. The fact that he didn't know to plug in his laptop.
I know, he returned it because the battery died. You sent me, he's like, well, did you plug it in? It's like, oh, you plug it. I know. And then he threw away his phone, but he didn't know Facebook was on a computer as well. He's talking about someone who is so anti-technology, or not anti, just doesn't
he's 80s.
He's 80s.
He's very 80s.
He's hardcore 80s. And that's what I love about it. And he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, it's funny. You kind of mentioned the fight scenes and how outlandish it is, like them fighting at the chop shop this year and stuff.
Yeah.
The whole point of the original Karate Kid that people made fun of the sequel for was it was only supposed to be about this kid who's getting beat up and then comes back into a karate tournament. It's not fighting drug dealers. It's not going crazy or anything like that. And it just spiraled into this thing, which is great, and I love every second of it.
Oh, I do too. But it's no longer two dojos and a tournament. It's two dojos. What happens outside of school? What happens inside of school? What happens here? What happens there? Let's fight here, here, here. And you're just like, oh, there's too much fighting. Which I guess you can never have, but. I do think I'm excited for season 4 because
I'm glad that one of the things that was driving me nuts is them bringing Johnny and Daniel together.
Yeah.
They finally did it. We don't have to wait. I do like that they were dealing with the fact that they are like the same person.
Yeah, it's the yin and yang, but they are the same person. I love the two sides to the story. It's like because there's two sides of the story. So it's like we saw one version in Karate Kid, and we're seeing another one in Cobra Kai, and I like how they're making he is not a bad guy. Like I like seeing his side of it. He's trying. He's not perfect, and he does have his flaws, but it makes him more. You're rooting for him, and I'm totally rooting for him.
Yeah, and if you can't walk, you just go straight to him. He'll have you walking quickly. Just take you to see Dee Snider.
Oh my God, that was just that whole it's like, you want that? Go get it. And he's like, okay, and then it's like, oh, and his facial expressions are so good when he's just like, and then he's like, because then you feel that he's like, oh, I'm actually really legitimately sorry that I just made you fall out of bed and you can't walk.
Yeah, he just tries so hard, and I do like that he thinks it's all psychological and screw medicine.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's good though.
Mick, did you have anything else?
I just if I could, in a land of revival and remakes. If there's like a character that's maybe a revival of like your father's, what would it be? Are we getting a Crumb?
Oh, man, oh God, Crumb. I don't know, a revival. If there was that's a tough one because there has been slight revivals, and I am never. They're hard. That's a hard one because
TV show. Who's Jennifer Crumb?
I know, God, right.
There you go. Yeah,
I could do that one. Yeah, I'll say that one. Let's do that. I'd like to play a detective of some sort. Right. It reminds me of my dad helped me write a story when I was in grade school, and we just wrote a detective story, and it was probably really inappropriate now that I think back about it, because it was like, Detective Airhead, and it was just like, it was very like punny, and that was our humor. And so I feel like that was Crumb essentially who he was writing, like helping me write, was like we were creating this character, and it's just Crumb is this lovable, just happens to fall on mistakes, but he does mistake after mistake, but then just happens to solve a crime. And I just think that's endearing. So yeah, that's a good one. I would okay that one.
If you guys are watching live,
let us visit the set.
I know, of course, done.
If you guys are watching live, hashtag Netflix Jennifer Crumb.
Yeah, right. Let's get it going. I need work, people.
Well,
thank you.
I just really appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thanks so much. It's been fun. I've had a great time.
Thank you guys all for tuning in. You can check out Jennifer Candy and all of the links that I will supply in the description of this video and audio. And have a great day.